All right, so we started with the discussion of managing sports experiences and building and managing team franchise equity, and we previously discussed awareness and perceived quality. Now let's move on to loyalty, associations, and other assets. But before we do that, let's go back to the very first set of quotes that we had, which of course is, if you can manage a team's franchise equity, you will always have a job in sports marketing. Great legendary sports marketing people have always understood the concept of managing a team's franchise equity. And again, the concept of franchise equity, the value of an established franchise compared to a new franchise, or what is the value of a professional collegiate sports franchise compared to its peers. And once again, the team franchise equity model, team awareness, perceived quality, and then the three things that we're going to talk about here: team loyalty, key associations, and other assets. These are all drivers of a team's franchise equity. Team loyalty. Well, brand loyalty is a preemptive decision-making process that results in the repeat purchase of a brand or a limited set of brands. A team and player loyalty is the degree to which fans are committed to the team and the team is committed to the community of fans. For the UNLV Rebels, it includes the Rebellion. For Raiders fans, it's Raider Nation. For golf fans, it might be Arnie's Army. For the old days of the Running Rebels, it was Jerry's Kids. It was the Shark Tank. And of course, as we used to always call it, Sam Boyd Stadium. A shallow grave in the desert. No one goes home alive. Team loyalty is all about ongoing team support. And there are two components to this. One is a mental or cognitive commitment to the team. This is more mental. The other part of that is behavioral. That is sort of like repeat purchase or attending games on a regular basis, maybe renewing season tickets, or constantly watching the team on TV every single time they're on. Pasakoff has some factors that he says creates team franchise equity and loyalty. I've added a few little additions to this, but here are the four factors. First is the entertainment value of the team and its events. Actually, I'm an experiential marketing guy, so I would argue that it should be the value of the team experience for fans, which is much more than just entertainment value. Authenticity. Authenticity is the question of, is the team honestly committed to trying to be successful? Some teams just seem to be going through the motions every single year. But how committed is the team to actually getting better? How committed is UNLV Athletics and the university to making sure that our football team is the best that it can possibly be and competing for conference championships? For example, a lot of expansion teams might not be competitive, with the exception of the Golden Knights. But they still have a lot of loyal fans as long as there's a belief that they have a plan and they're executing that plan to continually improve and get better. Third, fan bonding. This is a sense of identification and belonging. This is sort of the notion of a mutually beneficial relationship. A little bit like a love affair, where fans and the team build a strong relationship with each other. The fans may badmouth the team, but they're still loyal fans. And then fourth, building a history, tradition, and personality for the team or this figure if it's an individual sports figure. We all know about the Raiders having an interesting history, traditions, and of course a personality, sort of the bad boys of the NFL. How about Rebel football? What do you know about the history of Rebel football? How about their traditions? How about their personality? The degrees of fan loyalty range from a first-time spectator, that is, you've gone to a game or you've watched a game on television, to a repeat spectator, to a fan, to an involved fan, to a diehard fan. And of course, the diehard fan goes to or watches or listens to almost every game, consistently reads about the team in the local newspaper. It's their team. They proudly wear the team logo, etc., and their mood swings with the team's performance. They always have on a team hat, or maybe a team t-shirt, or maybe they even have a team tattoo. Some of the brand loyalty building activities for sports franchises. Well, first might be a maximum effort to win or improve. That is, make the fans proud of what we do. Next, fan appreciation, thanking the fans for their support. Showing that you care about the fans. Doing the right things, both in the community and in the sport. Involving the fans, getting the fans to interact with the team, but also immersing the fans in the team's traditions and history and goals. Practicing good relationship building is a must. Managing customer satisfaction is also critical. You have to try to make sure that it's easy to remain loyal. That is, make it easy to renew tickets. Make it easy to be a fan. Don't do things that make it hard for people to remain a fan. I remember when the Packers parted ways with Brett Favre. Brett was the person, probably second or third most famous Packer of all time. He had taken the Packers to the Super Bowl. He was a beloved quarterback and a beloved player for almost all of Packerland. And when they parted ways, the Packers parted ways in a very sort of mean-spirited way with Brett. And when they did that, a number of fans left with Brett. And that really was due to the fact that the Packers were trying to make it hard for people to remain loyal to the Packers. Stay close to the fans. Resolve problems that fans have. Try to enhance the fan experience. We always talk about creating switching costs. That is, make it hard to not renew your season tickets. Convince people that they absolutely have to renew their season tickets, that there's great value in having those season tickets. Of course, other things might be things like frequency program and providing extras for the fans. Some of the brand, so we also then talk about brand associations, and these are things that are associations to the team, that are people and objects that are associated with the team that add or subtract value. For example, a new $2 billion stadium adds values. Being associated with a brand new, state-of-the-art, top of the NFL quality stadium adds value. A new $200 billion stadium where you're an unwanted guest probably subtracts value. And a former quarterback that was all-pro in the NFL adds value. NCAA penalties for continuous rule violations probably subtracts value. So these are the kinds of associations that we want to have to build equity. Positive associations and the elimination and avoidance of negative brand associations. Some types of team associations that you might want to think about. The players. Players ought to be positive associations. Big name quarterback, bringing in, think about Tampa Bay this year. Tampa Bay football team is bringing in a legendary quarterback that used to play for the Patriots, Tom Brady. Certainly that's a positive team association. team logos, symbols, chants, cheers, etc., etc., team history and traditions, the fans, past performances, league championships, Super Bowls, bowl game wins for football teams, celebrity spokespersons, different competitions that we win at. The league itself would be a positive association. The coaches, the team mascot, the stadium or arena or facility or field, relative price, the customer type. As you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are well known for having the blue-collar fans. The Raiders are known for having rabid fans. Lifestyle, the owners, and even things like legendary wins. Now, there are some legendary wins for the UNLV Rebel football, but probably for UNLV athletics, the most legendary of all wins was a national championship game against Duke in 1990, when UNLV beat the great Duke basketball team 103-73. And the truth of the matter is, the game was never really that close. Some association building tools, media guides, licensing, packaging, slogans, website, human interest stories, distribution, advertising, symbols, sponsorships, events, and of course, fan-generated social media content. Other assets that might either add or subtract from the value of the team is the league that you play in. For example, the Las Vegas UNLV Rebels play in the Mountain West. The Utah Utes play in the Pac-12. One league is much more famous than the other. One league has been around a lot longer than the other. The city. Of course, the Rebels have the advantage of playing in a legendary city, Las Vegas. Also, the other value is the size of the market. UNLV has more than 70,000 alumni living in Las Vegas. Long-term contracts, sponsorships, licensing agreements, customer fan database. Once again, facilities, practice facilities, fan base. Maybe our fans are the best looking fans. Or maybe you're like the Lakers and the Knicks, and your fans and your most famous fans are celebrities. Or maybe you're like the Las Vegas Raiders, and your fans are simply the most dedicated fans. So think about all these other sorts of assets that add value to the team. Key issues in sports franchise equity management. Well, how do we measure franchise equity? Well, some approaches to measuring brand equity and franchise equity is price premium for tickets. If you go to a Yankees baseball game, the Yankees baseball tickets are all $50 and above. There are no cheap seats. Another way to measure franchise equity is attendance. The higher our levels of attendance, the more fans we have, and therefore it is a measure of how well we're doing at building team franchise equity. Total revenues. Market value of the franchise minus the value of the average franchise. Or maybe it's future earnings. Some other possible indicators of team equity: ticket price premiums, ticket revenue over the league average, market value of the franchise compared to the cost of a new franchise, the number of season ticket sales, the average attendance at a game, licensing revenues. Like I said, in 1990, UNLV was second or third in the country in licensing revenues among college football teams, among college athletic programs. And that includes schools like Notre Dame, Michigan, UCLA, USC, and all of the SEC schools. Total team revenues compared to the lowest revenues in the league. The degree to which ticket sales are not tied to current win-loss records. And that really is all about teams with high brand equity are able to uncouple the relationship between winning and attendance. And also, finally, the percent of season ticket renewals or defections. One of our students, I'm sure, found that the retention rate for season tickets last year at UNLV was 87%. Of course, I wasn't one of them. So how do we build franchise equity, and what are the key franchise equity building activities? Those are what every good sports marketing manager needs to understand. And then finally, how much franchise equity is lost when a team changes location? For example, many years ago, the Browns left Cleveland and moved to Baltimore. And they did it actually under the cover of darkness. They did it in the middle of the night. When they moved to Baltimore, it was after the Baltimore Colts had moved from Baltimore to Indianapolis. Now, when the Colts moved to Indianapolis, they kept the Colts name and tried to keep some of the Colts traditions. When the Browns left Cleveland, there was so much bitterness that they abandoned the name and became the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens have lots of franchise equity today, but it took a long time for them to build that back up because they had to start at zero. And the other question is, how much of a negative association is there with a team that leaves for a better financial deal, like the Raiders? How have teams that migrated done in terms of long-term franchise equity? Some have done okay, others not so much. It'll be interesting to see how the Raiders do in this particular area.